Our biggest tire sale of the year happening now at Big O Tires. Buy 2 tires, get 2 free on select tires in stock. That's 2 tires free when you buy an alignment and tire protection package. That's 50% off tires at Big O Tires. It's going on now, but it all ends soon. Buy 2 tires, get 2 free at all participating Big O Tires.
Installation additional plus shop fee of up to 10% of non-discounted retail price, not to exceed $35.
Hurry, sale ends Monday, President's Day.
Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast presented by Big O Tires. It's Tuesday, February 11th. I'm Blair Kirchhoff. Peter Vermes has known only success in his tenure as a player and coach in Kansas City. He won an MLS Cup and was named the league's Defender of the Year in 2000 when the team was known as the Wizards. As coach, Vermes led Sporting KC to the MLS Cup in 2013 and to 3 U.S. Open Cup championships. So when a season like 2019 comes along, when Sporting finished below 500 and missed the playoffs for the first time in 9 years, it was a stunner. Vermes recently sat down with the Star Sam McDowell to look ahead to this season and to dissect what went wrong in 2019. I think you'll enjoy the conversation. Here we go.
I know the first sort of process you go through in an off season is to figure out what went right and what went wrong over the previous year. So after an 8-year playoff streak ends, how did the self-scout process go?
I think first and foremost, you go and look at all your processes, right? And it's not just what you do on the field. It's what you do with the medical, what you do with the equipment, what you do with team admin, and team admin has all kinds of travel and just different things, right? So I went through all of that. And that was very healthy. Not, I don't want to make it sound like, because I look at those things all the time, but this was an incredible deep dive, if you will, this past year.
Because of the way the season went, or just something you felt like the time was coming to do it anyway?
Probably it's a combination of that, and also there was a time factor that was associated with our entire league, that a whole month was cut off from the league. So you had so much more time to do things we never did before, right? And then we didn't have to go to the combine, and there's just so much more time to do things. So that was one piece. Individual meetings with every player. Then I also met with, obviously, the staff, and I'm talking about the staff just for the first team. Then I also met with the staff of just our SKC2 group, and then the academy, because I wanted to get insights from them as well, not just on their property, but also things they think that may now or in the future have an effect on the first team. Mm-hmm. So we did all that, and then then from there it's now kind of being extremely self-critical, and then devising a plan going forward. That the last thing that I want to be is I don't. You know me well enough from this perspective. I'm not blowing everything up now and starting from ground zero, right? Sure. Because there are a lot of things that also happened last year that I couldn't control, which also had an incredible effect on what transpired. And then there's other things that for sure we could manage better going forward. And then it's putting a plan together. But it's not just me sitting there and putting a plan together and saying, everybody, all right, here's the plan. It's basically putting something together and then discussing it with all the stakeholders and having their input, because I truly believe in collaboration, and that's why we have a staff. And so that formulates the plan. And now, then the next step is, when the players are there, you have to then sell the plan to them.
Sure.
And you got to get them to buy into it. I mean, you can tell them what the plan is, but if they don't buy into it, you got problems.
Yeah.
And then it's about that. The next step is now you're doing the plan and being flexible enough to move left, move right, sometimes slow down, sometimes speed up when need be. And you have to be open to that.
So one of the things that to get into that is, and at the end of 2018, going into the 2019 season, you guys had reached the Western Conference Finals. So the off season is 8-9 weeks long. This year, MLS had already shortened its schedule, and then there's no playoffs. So it's an extra month and a half, 2 months almost of an off season. What did you demand out of your players to do in the off season? Because you guys are already 2 weeks into preseason. So what kind of demands did you have on the players? And I'm guessing there was some research, the extra sort of thing that went into that, because it wasn't an off season schedule that you really had to plan for in the past.
Yeah. So again, that's sitting down and going through all the different departments. When you're creating the plan, part of that plan is an off season training program. And so for me, really where it first started was assessing the team, assessing the individuals, and then creating the off-season training program. So there was that piece. Then you got to test all the players when they come in to see if they actually followed it.
Yeah.
And what the results were.
What were the results?
Fantastic. Really fantastic. They were really, really good.
Do you feel like you've got a group that is motivated by the way last year went?
Well, I know it's easy to go back and look at that and then say, where are you from that? You got to remember, we brought a lot of new acquisitions in.
You did. Yeah.
They don't have any connection to that. They don't know.
Sure.
Right. So between the guys that have returned and them having pride in what they do, which in turn turns to motivation, right, to be better than you were. And then now using new blood and guys that are excited to prove themselves coming here, that's what we're all banking on that as we move forward. As much as I'm not going to tell these guys what it was like to win MLS Cup in 2013 or US Open Cup in 2017, I don't feel the necessity to go backwards to go forward. I've already assessed that. I've made my conclusions. I've made my plan from there. Now it's about now and what we're doing.
Okay.
That's how I look
Sure.
at it, right?
So let's get into some of these acquisitions, because one of the big things of the offseason, I mean, the Stars sat down with Mike Illick, part of the ownership group, back in October, and he mentioned that you guys are going to spend money, and specifically on that number 9 position, and it's a position that I know specifically have scouted for a long time now.
Yeah.
And so I guess first I wanted to hear just your reaction to the approval from ownership to spend the kind of money that's necessary to get the impact player at that position, and then how you went about, once that money was approved, finding the guy that you wanted.
So you know this, and you kind of alluded to it, but I'll give you more timing. It's probably been 4 or 5 years that I've been in pursuit of a player of that description that you gave, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's going to have a much bigger financial burden than we've ever had before, and which traditionally speaking, you spend more, you get higher quality, right? So now, I had been, year after year, kind of talking about, we need to do this, and I think even Mike, in that article that you did, stated that. Peter even had a guy, and
right.
and he was ready to move on, and we said, well, why are you going to do it? Because we're in first place right now,
this was
right?
In 2018, when you guys are on pace to set a club record in goals at the time.
Correct. And so what's great is that in this past off season, part of that was me, like I do every year, getting in front of the ownership group, talking to them about the past year, going forward, where we're at. And I like to think, not to say that I'm right, but just to say that some of the things that I had been talking about, which are a simple one, is that the league is moving quickly, and we have to be careful that the gap doesn't get too far away from us. I don't want to pin all of last year on this one thing, but investment in this league in players has risen. What you can't take away is that we are investing a lot of money in our pro pathway. Yeah. Our ownership has done an incredible job in that area. But unfortunately, what's happening is that when you see all the expansion teams coming in, and the markets that are coming in, they immediately come out of the gate and they're buying, high priced.
They want to put a product on the field
right away.
Right away.
Yeah, they want to make a good impression, right? So you're competing with that as well. And so part of the problem is that I believe me, I don't necessarily think that we always found the right guy. And then also you find the right guy that you think is the right guy, but doesn't want to come. And then there's been, hey, I found a good guy, and hey, why are we going to do this? We're in first place. So we're kind of a victim of our own situation. The great thing is that, not sure, does last year's underperformance have anything to do with it? Sure it does. Is it everything? No. I think we found the right guy that everybody feels comfortable with. I think we realize that this is an area that we have to get into. At what level, the future only holds. It's not a set market, if you will, for us going forward, or a set amount of money, but it's us working towards making sure that we stay relevant and competitive, which is, as you know, that's always been my philosophy. It's like, I can't sit here and say I'm going to win a championship every year. What I can tell you is my goal is to take the team that we have this year and be competitive for the 4 trophies that are out there that we have a possibility to win.
Yeah, and now to that position specifically with the number 9, because the advanced metrics showed that you guys created chances last year. It was finishing chances that was a major issue. And you mentioned that getting the right guy, not just going out and spending money, but actually getting the right guy in here. So what about Alan Pulido makes you believe that he's the right guy? And also wonder, you've seen him now for 2 weeks in preseason. What have you seen from him in the first 2 weeks?
I think first is the fact that he's already in this region. He already knows getting a foreign player from outside of our region, there's an adaptation period. There's an adjustment for him culturally, all those things. Sure. Climate, travel, just all the things that come with MLS, right? He already has a very good idea of that. So the adaptation period is not going to be as big as other players it would be, right? Okay. The other is that from a player point of view, his work off the ball when we don't have it is very good. His ability to adapt his game for an opponent on where the right way for him to play against that opponent, and his adaptability in the game is going to become very useful for us moving forward, because he can play all the way up as a target guy. He can play as an underneath guy, and different situations require both of those. Sometimes you only have one, and then you have to make a change in a game with a guy that has the other, and now that guy's off. He can adapt during the game. He can score goals. He can give assists. He's got that quality. And so plus his age is very good for us. He's already got proven pedigree behind him, but he's only 28 years old. Yeah. And you're in the prime of any player, let alone a goal scorer. Sure. And so that is the reason why I feel that he was the right guy.
I want to touch on something else you mentioned a little bit, which was the pro pathway. The academy is something that we've seen sort of the fruits of the labor more recently, I think, than we did, because you're building it, 6-7 years ago. And now we've seen a lot of guys get in the lineup, a lot of guys that I think fans are pretty excited about their future. When you look at guys like Jalen Lindsay and Gianluca Buzio, what are your expectations for guys like that, and maybe some other guys that we've seen from your academy?
Easiest way to say this is continued progression of what they've been doing, right? I expect Boost to have more time this year. I expect Lindsay to have more time this year. Tyler Freeman, just from last season till now in preseason, it's as if I'm looking at a different player. And I don't mean he was bad before, right? That's not.
He was 16.
Yeah, he just has already just matured, and his like almost like his physical prowess now in training and everything is so different. He's not this little 16-year-old kid getting knocked off the. He's out there. He's like another guy. Just boom. He's doing all these things. So what happens is that you have this situation where you look at players like that and you say that progression has to continue. And at the same time, you also have to remember that there's going to be times when they have a little bit of a dip. The key is to not let that. I want a small dip. I don't want a valley.
Sure.
And that's the key there.
So you've got, we've talked about new acquisitions, and I know that's what people get excited about, but the backbone of this team has been guys like Matt Beasler, Graham Zusi, Roger Espinoza for a long time now. Obviously, they're getting on the wrong side of 30. We all know that, but there's still guys you're going to be relying on a lot this year. And I wonder, just mentally, I'm sure they're giving you as much as physically, because they have been here for a while. And I know all three of those guys, and I know their competitiveness that probably last year isn't sitting real well with them. So take me through why you decided to try and keep that core together with guys like that.
I think they still have soccer left in them, number one. I also think that for whatever reason, I don't think that they were as prepared as they could have been last year, which I think assisted in us not having a good year. And again, I'm not pointing a finger at them by any means, because we had all kinds of situations last year, and we had underperformers in all kinds of areas. I also think that I know those guys pretty well, and there's a high level of pride with the fact that, number one, just for their own individual performances, but also they've been a part of building this club. And the last thing they want to do is be remembered for not performing well. And I think there's that intent. And then the other thing is that I'm not a mercenary, right? And neither are they. And so one of the things that is so important that they have is they have tenure here. And that tenure, that understanding of the culture here, the where this club was, where it is today, all of those things are important for this next generation of guys coming through, and I need a connection to that.
You want that in the locker room.
I want that everywhere. Yeah.
And just players younger guys hearing something from a player is a little bit different sometimes than hearing it from a coach.
A lot different, for sure. And guys like that have had incredible success, not just here, but internationally and everything else. That is that's priceless. And so I have a lot of faith and trust in those guys, and a lot of belief in those guys. And when this club wasn't very good, they were still here working hard. We weren't very good last year. I don't think they're giving up on me, and I for sure am not giving up on them. And I believe that we still have more to accomplish together.
Wanted to take just a little bit of a broader league view, which is we're speaking to you hours after they announced that the new CBA has come in. And I know that as a coach, you're kind of caught in the middle a little bit and not necessarily on one side or the other. But the reason I wanted to chat with you about it is because some of the new things that were installed, I think, just show the growth of this league since you have first been a part of it as a player and now a coach. I mean, there's guys that are going to be free agents as long as they're 24 years old and been in the league for 5 years, and the minimum salary is going to increase to over $100,000 eventually. By the time the CBA expires, you're going to have chartered flights, which has been a big deal for players. And I'm sure you and I could probably reminisce about how many bad flights connections and things like that you've been on. But what kind of stands out to you when you look at a deal like that? Do you sort of reminisce about the way things used to be?
Well, where I would start off and say is, and I said this before, I think the first thing that you have to take into consideration is that I truly believe this. I think our ownership, right? There's no doubt in my mind that they want the best for the league, right? We coaching staffs, front office staffs, technical staffs, whatever you want to say, players. We sometimes forget that if those owners and their families didn't decide to invest in this project, we wouldn't have.
Yeah, Kansas City wouldn't have a team.
I wouldn't be doing this here. We wouldn't be talking, right?
Yeah.
I try not to forget that. I truly believe deep down that everybody wants to try to do the right thing. And sometimes what happens is the information maybe isn't exactly where it should be. You know, players might think, oh, everybody's just making so much money. And then the who knows, the other side is thinking, oh, you know what, they get paid too. I don't know. At the end, what I do know is that the progress that we've made from what you're talking about to sitting here today with, 26 teams active this year, 30 already under the expansion side of it, probably going to a couple more, to having as many individual soccer stadiums as we do, to the explosion of expansion in that it's not just how many teams are coming in, but when they come in, how good they are right away. And I'm not just talking about how good they are on the field, because it's truly a league that wants to grow. In that, I mean, I can't tell you how many expansion teams have come through Sporting Kansas City, front office, technical side, to gain knowledge of, we don't want to make this mistake when, they've already figured it out. Let's go see how they do it. And providing that education to them so that when they come in the league, they're successful. So now they have to suffer for 10 years.
Right.
That's not good for the league.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's bought into that. And that's a huge advantage to a league like ours that is continuing to grow. And then the final piece is that our product on the field is getting better all the time because of the I really think the incredible investments that our owners have made in things like TAM. That's been an incredible mechanism to increase the product on the field, and we have to celebrate that and understand it wasn't crazy money, but it was in the sweet spot, and the sweet spot has really lifted our game.
Sure. And
we got to continue to keep working towards those types of mechanisms that are going to help us to continue to get better and better on the field.
So one of the things you mentioned was the soccer-specific stadiums. I mean, when you played here in Kansas City, you're out at Arrowhead. So I did kind of want to ask a question about Arrowhead and those guys over there, because we're just days removed from the Super Bowl. I wonder if you watched the game, how you followed that game, and also just the Chiefs and playoff run in general. Because I know I also want to state that you read about Andy Reid, and I know that you've been a big fan of him from a coach-to-coach standpoint.
I have. I remember him in Philadelphia forever, right? Because I'm right across the bridge.
Sure.
And so, and I always thought he did a great job there. And I thought when they separated ways, I thought it was a huge mistake for Philadelphia. But obviously he came here, and I knew when he came here that he was going to create something special. And so I'm very happy in the fact that he was able to win the Super Bowl. I think Mahomes said it the best when he said that he didn't need this to define that he was a great coach or he had a great career. This was more of something that it was nice to see that he got, because he deserves it for the basically the time spent and everything that he's done for the game. I think that's a really great way to put it. I watched the game from the beginning to the end. I watched the whole game. I didn't miss any plays, really. I was in it. Extremely exciting from all ways. I think the way that they were down in playoff games and they're able to come back showed the intestinal fortitude of the group, the calmness of the coaching staff, just tremendous. And it says a lot about how much they are a team.
All right. Well, hey, Peter, thanks a lot for taking the time, especially ahead of the season launch party tonight. You've got a couple weeks left of preseason. It's February 29th, right?
Correct. Leap year.
Yeah, so we're just 3 weeks away from the season opener, and good luck this season. Thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Hey, it's Blair. Hey, we have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Stars award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns we have to offer. And it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. For your convenience, Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. A lot of subscription services won't tell you that. They'll just sneak it on there. We just told you. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening. That'll do it for today. Thanks for listening. Links to the stories about Sporting KC can be found in the show notes and on kansascity.com. Thanks to producers Derek Donovan and Randy Mason for putting together today's show, and we'll be back on Wednesday with another SportsBeat KC where we talk sports in Kansas City every day.